hello everyone, and thanks for tuning in. This is the 14th live stream we've done, so it's been a little over 3 months we've been bringing live concerts to you. And today, my really great friend, Mr. Brandon Ridenour, is here. How you doing, Brandon?
All right, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm hanging in there.
You know, we shouldn't confuse everyone out there. You're actually much bigger than me. But based on like the depth perception here, I appear to be the more giant of the two. So I'll take it for now. But if you ever see us in real life, that's not how it actually is.
It's funny because so many people that come here after seeing the stream, it's just like, man, the perspective of everything looks so different. It's like, yeah, it's like
Right.
camera angles.
Right.
It's
Exactly. Yeah, I decided this camera angle to be in the forefront as the special guest. Yeah.
Oh man, so I guess I should give everyone a little bit of background on how Brandon and I know each other. We met, I guess, what was it, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, before we went on tour to Japan.
Right.
Actually, yeah. So we've been everywhere. We've been to Florida.
That's right. We tested the waters in Florida first.
That's right.
As one does, because if you can do a concert in Florida, you're obviously ready to travel overseas and do a tour in Japan. So that's how it went down for us, and we were match made by our mutual friend.
Peter.
What's
that's
his
right.
name?
Yeah, Peter.
Peter Dugan.
Peter Dugan,
the new host for From the Top.
From the Top, yeah. He's the man. It's funny because we all went to school together,
Right.
But I didn't know you at all, even though we were there like the same time. And so if it weren't for Peter, we wouldn't have met. So yeah, we played in Florida, and then we went to Japan. That was actually pretty epic. We did like 5 cities in 10 days. Like thinking back on it, it's like, wow, we covered a lot of ground.
I think like we regained consciousness like on the last day of tour. We find that our first concert there was such a daze, neither of us really remember it. There's evidence that it happened.
Right. There's
tickets
we
were sold.
There, right?
People came, but yeah, it was a blur at the beginning.
It was, man. I remember that experience was so crazy because I seem to remember like the first concert was one of the biggest halls.
Yeah.
So I just remember
it was no warm-up concert.
No warm-up.
That should have been the last concert, but it was the first.
It was the first one, and we got there, and I just remember like they opened the doors, we went out, there's like thousands of people.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm really, really tired. Like, I'm not sure where I am right now. Like, it was super surreal because I was so sleep deprived from the time change.
We were running on those like old fumes of over practicing from our Juilliard days get us through that moment.
That's exactly what that was. It was just like years of toil from before
Right.
somehow pulled me through because I was playing on all muscle memory that concert, man.
Turns out muscle memory isn't like the smartest memory at times. It does fail us from time to time.
From time to time, it
yeah.
does. But that was sort of our first big thing together. And then
the Japan tour where they were all wearing masks already, ahead of all this.
Well, way ahead of it. Like it's like we got there, and I actually felt kind of strange that I wasn't wearing a mask.
I know,
because we were.
Here we were, so liberal, not and unmasked Americans.
Yes.
Being there, and we couldn't really tell if they enjoyed the concert or not, because they were masked the whole time. But they clapped at all the right times.
They did.
For just the right amount of time each time as well.
It was with surgical precision.
I think that it sounded like they had more rehearsal than what we did as an audience.
Actually, they did. They were way more on top of it than we were.
Maybe.
But I was struggling. I was like, what piece are we playing right now? Like, what city is this?
Right.
Like, what is this instrument? Like, I remember... I knew it was going to be a long night when I just like looked at the piano and like got kind of dizzy. I was like, it's all like black and white. I was like, who decided on these colors? It's really confusing. I'm super groggy.
I know. Well, that's how I felt years ago, and what compelled me to switch to the trumpet, which I found out is just as unfriendly in different ways. But.
Yeah. So actually, tell me a little bit about that, because I know you're a multi-instrumentalist, which is strange. Like a lot of people sort of focus on one thing, but I know you started with piano and still play piano. And then at some point you switched to brass. Like, why did you do that? How did that happen?
Well, I had to pick an instrument or sing in the 5th grade.
Okay.
You're compelled to do this because they have band, orchestra, or choir programs in most public schools. I definitely didn't want to sing because I wasn't confident enough to do that.
Sure.
And my voice was probably the highest boy soprano voice, and I just didn't think that was a good look at the time. Like, I was just starting to maybe get interested in girls. So I thought if I was to like try to like sing with my high boy soprano voice, it just wasn't going to go well. Both of those worlds weren't going to happen at the same time. That's for sure. So I abandoned that career option early on. And I also felt really awkward with string instruments. I remember trying like a violin around that age, and just was like, that was so foreign to me.
Yeah.
And
It's weird. I actually feel the same way about string instruments too. I don't know why that is.
Yeah.
Like I can
the guitar too. It's so foreign.
Like I can kind of make my way around like about anything else. Like I'm like, okay, I get what's happening here, what I should be doing, but somehow like the especially bowed string instruments, like I just never I never got into it.
Strange.
But yeah, sorry to interrupt. What were you saying though?
No, that's all right. I feel like I've since learned how to write better for those instruments just because I have lots of friends who play those instruments, and they tell me basically what not to write for them. So it's come through the process of making a lot of mistakes. But I ended up settling on the trumpet because there was an old trumpet waiting for me in the basement of my family's house that my dad had played on also in high school. Okay. And so I didn't have too much of a choice. Okay. At the time, I wanted to play the drums really bad. Like I just knew, number one, like I was a drummer at heart. And my parents obviously just didn't want to listen to that crap day in and day out. So they pushed me. They're like, you should really do something more musical, or like something like where you can make a pitch out of it, instead of drums. And I was so heartbroken. But it turned out, I guess they needed more trumpet players in the band as part of it. I think that there was some kind of negotiation.
Ulterior motives.
There was definitely a negotiation, like between my band director, I think, and my parents. Like they were in on it together. I should dig. I should do some digging in the past and try to like alias this, figure out what was going on back then.
Backdoor deals.
I know. And what's going to happen in the future. If I can uncover the past, maybe I'll know where this is all going. But anywho, that's sort of how it happened. The trumpet was there waiting for me. Yeah. And I took to it. I found it to be a slightly more social instrument than the piano, because you're playing in various bands and whatnot. Yeah. So, I just I took to it quickly. I felt like I already knew how music worked. Only needed to worry about one note at a time instead of a million. Yeah. That's sort of how it came to be, and it's developed since there. Yeah,
and I know your dad he's a fantastic pianist.
Yeah, my dad was my first music teacher.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that's interesting that it was his trumpet that was sort of just sitting there. I didn't know that he was into brass too, but that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
That's really awesome.
Yep, it was his.
It's strange because I totally get it, because the piano is a bit of a solitary lifestyle musically speaking, because it's like, especially if you're playing certain genres of music, like you can kind of get this like tunnel vision where it's like, okay, like I'm gonna play Chopin, and that's kind of and it's awesome, but it's like it's a very solo activity. Like you can kind of just do it on your own. Right. But yeah, that's the cool thing about playing wind instruments, is that you're always in like a group or a band, with other. You
need others, for sure.
Yeah, that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
So, I know one of the really interesting things about you. It's funny, like when you sent me the music for those first concerts that we did, I was looking at it. I was like, I was like, is this really happening? Like this is awesome, because like none of it was like what you would expect to play on the trumpet in a good way, like in an awesome way. Like it was some of the first stuff I've ever seen. I've never seen like that.
You wanted to play the Haydn Concerto and the Hindemith Trumpet Sonata so bad. I know. But I negotiate. I fought for it hard. And it's like, no.
And what's the deal with like for those of you that don't know, so Hindemith is this Well, is it true he set out to write a piece for like every instrument? Is
He
that
did.
what it was?
He did. And yeah, for the instruments like, well, the trumpet and the viola, Hindemith ended up writing some really fantastic pieces for those instruments, which just goes to show you how bad it is for us repertoire-wise. Not to discredit Hindemith. He wrote us some good material.
Yeah.
And that trumpet
It's pretty
sonata is
weird though. I mean, it's fun. Like I'll say it. Like I think, like at least in my opinion,
know.
like Hindemith, it's like this is strange, dude. Like
It-
this is
it is-
like I don't really know any other way to say this. Like I don't want to play this for anyone.
Nothing about it feels very natural. You know, nothing really fit. I mean, you start together and you end together.
Right.
It all fits somehow. But yeah. So we've digressed. But like, there's plenty of repertoire out there for the trumpet and the trumpet and piano. But what I had found is that a lot of that repertoire wasn't suitable for maintaining like a touring career that was where you could create an accessible program that audiences would enjoy from the top to bottom. So that's why I started to set out to arrange lots of different types of pieces and different composers and arrange this music for us to play, because I just felt like it was stronger material and I could communicate a musical message through these composers better than what I could others.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really great motivation for doing something like that, because I think a lot of the sort of music that we study like academically is awesome for like academic environments. But it's like, like, do you really want to like play that to people and only that for a long period? It's like probably not. So I think that's really awesome that you took the initiative to arrange music for the trumpet that trumpet players otherwise don't get to play, and that I think helps make the trumpet more relevant for like just people who want to just hear some good music. Right. So that's awesome. So what was the first one that you did? When did you start doing that? Because it seems that by the time I met you, you already had like a whole catalog of these arrangements and compositions that you had made. So when did you start doing that, and what was like the first one?
Right. The first ones. That's a good question. Yeah. Well, I did the CD with my dad called Trumpet Invasion. And as the title would suggest, the trumpet is invading others' repertoire. And a lot of the repertoire came from the piano because that was my secondary instrument, and I knew some piano literature. So I tended to steal from the piano more than other places.
Yeah. I noticed we're actually going to play one of those pieces. We're going to do a Debussy prelude that's originally for piano that you arranged for trumpet and piano.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
One thing that, you would probably express as well is that a challenge on the piano, since the sonorities that you get from the piano are generally, it's all generally the same sound. It's going to sound like a piano, but when you have a melody, especially a single line, one-keyed melody on the trumpet, it can be a challenge to really bring those out. In fact, you go to Juilliard for 4, 6, depending on how good of a pianist you are, 9 years. Yeah. You're just trying to figure out how to bring out certain lines all the time. So,
for sure.
By arranging something for piano plus something else, you're extracting those lines and bringing out certain melodies in a way that just becomes more obvious. Yeah. So, I set out to do that. At first, I would use piano pieces. I heard a lot of Gershwin growing up, so I would arrange his preludes. My dad and I co-arranged them along with Rhapsody in Blue. Yeah. Those were some early arrangements. And I remember doing like a Scriabin arrangement early on, and Rachmaninoff, Etude Tableau, another piano piece. Yeah. Just like things that struck me. Yeah. I'd hear them and I'd arrange them. And then, as I got into college, I expanded more and started writing things that I heard bands doing, like Radiohead. I'd arrange them Radiohead or Ben Folds. It's just whatever struck me and I couldn't get out of my ear ended up being like the thing that I'd sit down to arrange.
Yeah. And honestly, I think that's a pretty good gauge of deciding what repertoire to put through that process. Because it's like, hey, if this is something that, like you said, I can't get it out of my head.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, there's probably a reason for that. It's probably something special about this,
right,
that would translate well to any instrument. So I think that's a really smart thing to do, and I think that's really, really awesome. Yes, we did the Rhapsody in Blue arrangement several times. We did it in Japan. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the best arrangements. I really like the Scheherazade arrangement you did too. That one's really awesome.
That's right.
Rimsky-Korsakov stuff.
Yeah.
That's great. So that's actually one of the things I was wondering. Like when I first got your music, I was like, man, like what sort of inspired him to do this? But now that I'm talking to you about it, that actually makes a lot of sense. That's really, really awesome.
Yeah. It's always been a labor of love. But there's something that much more special, I think, about creating a program that you've literally created yourself and then get to present that for others. I feel more connected to the music that way by going through that process of arranging. And I feel like also I learn a lot about music. I think you would probably also say the same thing. You can learn so much through the process of arranging about how to write music as well. Yeah. And I would say that like most of my musical education as far as being a composer has come from the process of arranging things by great composers. Yeah,
I would agree wholeheartedly. It's interesting. One of the things that I learned, they used when they would teach students composition, they would actually like give them a piece by like Chopin or something like that, and say, here, write a piece like around this same format, like sort of like bar by bar, like as an exercise. Yeah. And it's like, it's almost kind of like in visual art, like tracing over, like great paintings. Whatever, exactly. Just to, not saying that this is what you have to do, but it's like it can at least show you, like this is a good entryway into good craftsmanship. Right. So I agree wholeheartedly. Like most of the stuff that I learned about writing music was from arranging other people's music. Yeah. Or even just like arranging music for a different instrument. Like how do I preserve some of the things that this instrument can do on these new instruments? Yeah, you still want to honor the composer, of course. And there may be some people out there that are such purists who will say like, oh, it should only be heard in its original form. Yeah. But I don't believe that, and I think that everyone's entitled to feel how they want to feel about this. But I think some really great things have happened. Even if you look at the songwriting world, there's so many songs that I've heard other singer-songwriters cover before I heard the original. And then it was only later that I realized, oh, you didn't write that song, but your version's so good, I like yours better. Right. And I think that we'd all probably admit we've had a song that we've heard where that's happened. That's happened numerous times to me, where it's like I've been listening to something as sort of the definitive version for a long time, and then only to find out later it's like, that's a cover of like something else, and it's like, oh, wow, well, they nailed it. Yeah, that's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about your last project, the last thing you did, Come Together. Oh yeah, speaking of Come Together, another great song that's been covered so much, where I've heard other versions that I kind of like better than the original Come Together, to be honest. Yeah. And like a little help from my friends, like the Cocker version, versus the Beatles version. I kind of, not to discredit the Beatles, I love the Beatles versions. They're like, they're irreplaceable, but I think the point being is that great music can transfer through any medium, through any arrangement. And if one is so inspired by something, they can turn it into something even more beautiful. Yeah, I agree. Or like a different kind of beauty. But this Come Together project, which you were a part of, I am, is an all Beatles album. Is how it started, and I got a bunch of friends and acquaintances together to record this album. There's a variety of really wonderful vocalists on the album, string players, of course, trumpet is present. Jeremy is on the album on a few tunes as pianist and drummer on the Come Together track. That was fun. Yeah. It came together really nice. I learned from the greatest.
Please. You were playing drums, but it was it wasn't in person with this other group that I play with, Founders.
Right.
That tune, Come Together, was arranged for Founders plus Jeremy on drums. But the real point for doing such an album, which is funny, this album was done in 2019 to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the song Come Together. And I felt really compelled to just kind of spark this message as a gentle reminder to people to just, well, I guess be nice to each other and come together, look past our differences, and let's all get along, shall we? Which, of course, we can never, we could still always use that reminder now as well. I had decided that all of the proceeds to this album, Come Together, would go to various organizations that are really great organizations devoted to solving some, what I believe, and many I'm sure would believe to be real problems in the world between social justice and racial equality, environmentalism, sorts of places to donate. So all the proceeds go to various organizations that are decided by the people who are donating.
Nice.
And that can be found just directly on my website. There's a Come Together tab. You can hear it. And if you decide to buy the album, you just let me know. Where do you want your money to go towards? Which organization?
Nice. That's amazing. And what's your website, by the way?
BrandonRidenour.org.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you guys can visit. You can visit the website and listen to the album, purchase the album, and as you've heard, the proceeds go to a wonderful cause.
Right.
And
which leads us to
So for this concert, we're you can see a little donation link in the corner of the screen. All of our donations are going to a wonderful organization called Flint for Flint. They've been doing really, really good work in Michigan, delivering clean water to families that are affected or still being affected by the lead water crisis going on there. So they're really, really awesome. Brandon is from Michigan, by the way. I'm from the Midwest. I'm from Illinois. So this, it was really a tragedy when I first learned about that, and I was like, what can I do? So I made an album called For Flint, and we're actually going to play one of the songs from that album. Called Fish Me a Dream. Actually that sort of is a nice segue. We can talk about some of the music we're going to play.
Sure. I should mention, I don't think I told you, I met Michael Moore.
Really?
Yeah, who's from Flint.
Are you serious?
Totally by accident. I was on the same flight as him. We were arriving to Grand Rapids, Michigan.
When did it win?
A few years ago.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because I still have family in Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
And I got off the plane and I was waiting there for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And I was watching people get off the plane. Maybe I was waiting for somebody else to get off the plane who was more in the back. And out walks Michael Moore. And I thought, oh my God, that's Michael Moore, the legend. Amazing.
Yeah.
And I approached him and I told him how much I appreciated what he's done and what he continues to do. And he said, thank you.
Yeah.
And he had the softest hands of anyone I've ever touched. His hands were so soft. I wanted, if I wasn't being rude already, my next question would be, what do you do for your hand care? That's really incredible.
My favorite thing that he's ever done, I'm pretty sure it was Michael, when he brought a bunch of water from Flint to the governor's house and just started watering his plant.
Oh man.
I just started watering the governor's lawn with Flint water. I was like, "You're a legend, just for this."
Yes. You do keep doing what you're doing.
You're on the right path, man.
Right.
That guy's he's hilarious.
Yeah,
that's awesome that you guys got to meet though.
Yeah, well, he's probably not talking about the story about meeting me on a live stream somewhere, but it was cool.
That's
cool
great.
To meet him.
Yeah, so all the donations from today's concert are going to go to Flint, and the link is right there on the bottom of the screen. So we're going to play. We're going to open with a song called "La Tour," which is one of your compositions. Mm-hmm. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, La Tour is French, and in English it means the tour. Actually, it means the ride.
The ride.
So it's so if you're familiar with like La Tour, the famous bicycle race, the Tour of France, La Tour de France, it comes from that, the ride of France, and it's a little bit of a play on my last name, Ridenour, but also a play on my time in France, where this was written in the south of France, a really beautiful place that I wouldn't mind spending isolation in for the next year. I wrote it in Aix-en-Provence. At the time, I was playing as a guest with the Mahler Chamber Orchestra, and we had a fair amount of time off. So I got to write some things here and there. I found it to be a really inspirational place. So that's where this happened. And then the next thing we're playing, sticking in the world of France, is by Claude Debussy.
That's right.
Not a bad composer. Claude Debussy sort of knew what he was doing.
Yeah, he figured some stuff out for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So we've got a little bit of a French theme going, and this is a piano prelude, perhaps one of his most stark and like minimalist, in the sense that there are very few notes in this piano prelude. So it's, very minimal footprints in the snow, which, since the weather is starting to turn cold, we felt appropriate to program.
Yeah, and then after that, we're doing one of my pieces, the piece I mentioned from the album called "Fish Me a Dream," which is that we've played that piece a lot. We did it in Japan a lot. We did it. We've done it here. It's really it's a really cool piece. It's not written for trumpet specifically. It's written for piano and then some sort of instrument. I've played it with violin. I played it with trumpet, clarinet. I played it with just singers, like without text, just using vowels.
Nice, like a vocalese.
Yeah, like it's literally just a vocalese. It's just a piece that I wrote that's for some melody instrument and piano. So Brandon is definitely going to do it justice. We've done it a lot, and it's been a lot of fun.
And you'll hear it's very Ravelian. Another Maurice Ravel, another great French composer.
Yeah.
So sticking to that world, but the complete opposite of Footprints in the Snow, where it's so minimal and stark. This is extremely lush and notey.
Lots of notes,
which Ravel loved to do.
Tell
like
me
very like Daphnis and Chloe-esque.
Yeah, I learned a lot of Ravel over the summer, and I was both amazed and infuriated by the amount of stuff I was doing.
Right.
And then we're going to close with some Radiohead.
Right. It just seemed fitting in the program.
It's such a perfect segue.
Yeah. Why not? Why not? Well, I guess we could tie this in. It's a Radiohead song called Paranoid Android. Classic Radiohead song. Maybe you've heard it before. And maybe it's one of those songs that you've heard covers of, or you've heard it and you didn't realize that was Paranoid Android by Radiohead. But it's fitting in the sense that I think that we're probably all feeling a little bit of this paranoia. We're all kind of paranoid androids right now. So I guess there's just some weird irony about that programming selection.
It all worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll knock this out. The program's in the description, and then remember you can visit Brandon's website, listen to the Come Together album, purchase it, and then all the donations from today are going to go to Flint for Flint, who I've also tagged in the description. So you can, if you want to learn more about Flint for Flint, you can just click there and read all about what they're doing. So those of you that are watching live, just give me a couple seconds. I'm going to flip some mic settings to get ready for us to play, and then we'll get started.
tour.
Nice. I like the blurring stuff in sort of the middle of that piece, like the way that you like some of the chords kind of blur together a little
with
bit.
the piano solo.
Yeah. It's
Right.
really cool.
Yeah, that was sort of accidental. Like when you're a bad pianist like me, you end up like not achieving a certain level of refinement like Jeremy. So I have to literally write it into his part to play less refined, to hold on to that like sort of like a lead foot. You just like me, I have no like foot sensitivity on the pedals. So I'll just like pedal through everything just so that like I can have a big like piano sound, like anybody can just sound big and like annoying on the piano when you just hold the pedal down.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
But yeah, I totally know what you're saying.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So next, Debussy. And we're going to go right into Fish Me a Dream, so it'll be seamless.
That's right.
And here it is, Footprints in the Snow.
Let me get the special device. Just 1 second.
Oh, that's right.
It's in your kitchen.
Oh, nice.
The Harmon.
Very nice.
Instant jazz sound. Anybody can sound like Miles Davis if you just have one of these. That's the goal.
Anyone can sound like Miles
It's
Davis.
just that easy. Even you at home. there are a lot of young people listening. By the way, that's such an incredible song that you've written, Fish Me a Dream.
Thanks. I'm glad you like it.
I'm sure that it will go on to be a standard in the future that everyone will play.
One day, right? Hopefully.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I think so. We'll see it in that real book. The fake book. For sure. Well, that leads us to the end of our program with this Radiohead song, Paranoid Android. And it features a very special technique on the trumpet that when you're a young trumpeter, the first thing that you're taught is, of course, how to put your instrument together. And when you're in band class with a bunch of clarinetists and saxophonists, you have a supreme advantage because all you have to do is that, and your instrument's together.
You're done.
And the band director says, okay, now you brass players, be sure, don't slam your mouthpiece into your horn because then I have to take it out. It'll get stuck. Little did the band director, and maybe many band directors know, is that is the difference between a pro trumpet player and an amateur. It's all about that seal. So you, in fact, if you're a professional, you need to really get that mouthpiece in there. But for you young kids, I don't know. Just give it a few years. But I guess you should know that your band directors are ultimately lying to you about that.
So many truths shaken.
Yeah.
Like, what else is a lie?
Right, exactly. I wasn't supposed to do that the whole time. I mean, yeah, it might get stuck in your trumpet. That's the downside. But the upside is that you'll have a perfect seal of that mouthpiece into the instrument. And you can do all sorts of cool things with it, like you'll hear at the beginning of this song, Paranoid Android.
Let's do it.
All right. feeling paranoid.
Awesome, man. I'm just gonna flip the mic settings back to talking.
Cool.
We can finish up.
Cool.
It all record. It's always you never know if like did the stream die. Like we just played that whole concert for ourselves.
Exactly.
Nobody heard it. Nobody knows who we are. Or what we're doing. But yeah. So thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Just so you guys know, I archive all of these concerts on my website and also on Patreon. So you can just go to www.jeremyajaniJordan.com. Or if you want to donate to the stream or donate to a specific performer or a concert or a cause, you can go to Patreon. All the concerts are free to watch, but there's an interface there so you can donate if you wish. And also in the archive, I go through and just edit out little things like changing sound and mic volume. The image and audio quality is usually a little better than it is on the stream. So those of you that are watching live, we love you and appreciate you. Right. But if you want to go back and watch later, you'll get a pretty seamless experience there too.
With only the best jokes available in that version.
only the best.
Only the best ones.
We have a long editing session after this.
Right, it'll be released next year. Right. The edited version.
The full season of this live stream. Could you imagine like we'd sell like 2 copies.
I know, yeah.
To critical acclaim.
Right, and we're the only ones who actually bought it.
Right. I bought one of them actually. But yeah, so thanks so much, guys. Again, you can listen to Brandon's latest project, Come Together. It's on his website. All of the proceeds from that are going to charitable causes. So a huge thanks to Brandon for being here.
Thank you.
And for playing.
It's nice to play with a real human.
I know it is. It's so nice to play with people again. I haven't done it in so long, and I was practicing a lot for a while, and then it's like then other stuff sort of comes up. You just get kind of busy with that, and then you just you go into another world, and you just forget how fun it is to play music. So. Right. And then don't forget that all the proceeds from this concert today are going to Flint for Flint. So you can see their PayPal down the corner of the screen. You can make a donation there if you wish. Next week, my great friend Kristen Lee is coming by. She's going to play some fantastic chamber music, and we're going to raise some money for Lyra Chamber Music Festival. Mm-hmm. So check that out next week. And like I said, stop by the Patreon, stop by the archive, and listen to all the concerts, and it's really cool. And
we may as well plug that we're playing an event for Kristen's festival, Emerald City.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
And
that's on Monday, right?
That's Monday night.
Yeah. Monday night
at 7 p.m. Pacific time. 10 o'clock here. Yeah. But it's a little bit more exclusive, but you can still check out the information.
It's going to be kind of just a basically larger version of this program, some of this stuff, and then some more music too. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And so thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you guys next week. Take care, everyone.
See ya.